Sure. So, hello everyone. This is, I think we're calling it Tough Topics in LD, and we're just here to talk about tough topics in LD and get that conversation going. So, my name's Sean, and we've also got with us.
My name's Alistair Beverley. I'm a physiotherapist working for a further education college in Mansfield, Nottinghamshire. And I'm here. Sean and I have got together through social media to be able to, and we've had a lot of conversations on social media that we think deserve a little bit more unpicking. And some of you may have noticed that we started a hashtag of Tough Topics in LD because we believe that there are some quite glaring elephants in the room that need to be talked about in order to try and push services within learning disabilities forward. So this is a bit of a collaboration, Sean and I getting together on this and just trying to create something from scratch, really.
And in the spirit of creating something from scratch, this is unscripted at the moment, hence I didn't mention who I was. So my name's Sean Williams. I'm a student learning disability nurse in my third year at Keele University at the moment. And that's me really. There's not much to add to that. I've done a few things. I've been a student Nursing Times editor for learning disability nursing, and on various committees and stuff. But really, really passionate about what we do and wanted to know what's going on in other places.
Yeah, and I think we don't necessarily have a format for this. So thank you to everybody if you have tuned into this for the first time, and apologies for the slightly rusty delivery. Sean and I are, I'm just a physiotherapist and Sean's just a student nurse. So we just think that we just need to try and gain a platform that we can have more in-depth conversations around some tough topics. If you look on social media under the hashtag Tough Topics in LD, you'll see some of the posts that we've put on there and some of the very reductive polls, unfortunately. So just as a bit more of I don't know, Sean, if you've managed to go through some of the things, we've just prepared some information about ourselves, why we're here and why we're doing this. So do you want to kick off, Sean?
I've got to find mine. I've been having IT issues, everybody.
Okay.
So I've got to put it up.
And I'll start with mine. Is that all right? While you seamlessly have yours ready, yeah.
Sure.
So who am I? I'm been described as a big mouth Yorkshireman, disrespectful and arrogant. As I said before, I'm a manager of a physiotherapy service in specialist further education. I have worked in NHS services in the community, and I've also worked within private services as well. I'm now in the charitable sector and charitable education sector. I am a volunteer for another charity called Special Olympics Great Britain. I've had the pleasure of being one of the physiotherapists for the Great Britain squad when they travel abroad to international events, and I've had the fortune to volunteer in Los Angeles and Abu Dhabi as Team GB physiotherapist. I also have a role that I volunteer for as well with Special Olympics, and my title is Clinical Director of Health and Wellbeing for Special Olympics Great Britain. So one of the things that Special Olympics do is they offer something called Inclusive Health, and it's free health screening for the athletes who have learning disabilities. And the idea is that we screen for common health issues and then we signpost back into local health services. So the idea is that we make more people aware of their own health needs, and we also integrate people into the NHS and health services a lot better. One of the things that we also do is we take volunteers from the local areas. So for example, in 2017, we held a week screening event at the National Summer Games in Sheffield, where we had about 80 volunteers, a mixture of therapists and students from Sheffield Hallam University and actually all over the country, who partook in screening for around 2,500 athletes. So what has brought me here? I think my story, I wanted to be a lawyer first, until I went on my work experience placement and found that it was incredibly boring. A lot of paperwork, and I thought, that's all right, I'll find a career that doesn't involve much paperwork, let's go into physio. How wrong that was. I'm somebody who's always been passionate about physical activity, and I think if you're going to say what is your bias to physiotherapy approach, physical activity is definitely where I'm at, and I will put that flag in the ground right now. A keen rugby player. I have two brothers, one of them who has Down syndrome, so being around sort of the learning disability sector, I don't really like sort of those umbrella terms, but been around and have a bit of an understanding of it from both sides of the coin. So physiotherapy was always something that was around me during playing rugby. To my brother, we used to go to lots of physio. I thought they were great fun sessions as a kid. you would just go and it would just be playing fun and games. Obviously, the physios are very clever at the time, as hopefully I've started to try and emanate in trying to make the physiotherapy fun and engaging so that it didn't feel like a physio session. I spent some time at school, flunked my A-levels, unfortunately, spent too much time playing rugby. Then I did a BTEC nursing diploma, so I was a cadet nurse diploma. And then that got at Rotherham College of Arts and Technology. And then went to Hallam University in Sheffield, where I qualified as a physiotherapist. So why am I doing this? Sean and I have set out these questions for ourselves to try and answer, to give you guys a bit of a background about where we're coming from. So I'm doing this. I think there's a lot of parental and familial voices that you find out there on social media around inequality and inequity within learning disabilities, and the challenges of facing the system. I think that there's very little discussion that I find, however, from professionals, and that frustrates me. And I think that we have a bigger role as professionals to be able to speak out about what we think is wrong and what we think needs changing. I would state, and I will reiterate this throughout, that what we are doing, Sean and I, is trying to question for the sake of improvement. None of the things that we will talk about or topics that we will bring up reflect in any intended attacks or trying to undermine or devalue or damage anybody's professional, personal identity. The sole reason for this web chat is for us to be able to unpick some topics that we feel that are drastically under discussed, and actually maybe they are being discussed, and that Sean and I are just not aware of them. So if you do see anything that we're talking about, please signpost us in. But as two professionals working in the sector, we're not aware of them, so we think that probably does highlight the fact that there's a need for increased communication. I'm a bit fed up with the system from a professional standpoint, so much so that I don't necessarily see the appetite for change within the learning disability area and professionals within learning disabilities. And I don't just talk about nurses or physios or OTs, I'm talking about the sector as a whole. And I think that definitely needs to change. I'm looking to connect with like-minded professionals, which is how Sean and I and students got together to try and affect change, really. I've got a desire to challenge the status quo and try and see how we can begin a conversation that will recognise that working with people with learning disabilities does pose its own set of challenges, and it's okay to talk about those things and remove some of that stigma. So one of the other questions that we talked about was, what is this all about? Related to the points above, to get the conversation started about amongst learning disability professionals, because I don't think there is a conversation happening at the moment, and engage others within the learning disability community. If all that comes out of this is more people start talking, then that's a positive thing for me. Why the topic, or why the title, Tough Topics in Learning Disabilities? I think I mentioned before that there's a lack of discussion around tough topics and little active debate between practitioners, even at a fundamental level of learning disability practice. I think I might be stealing some of your points from this, Sean, in what's in the name. I'll leave that one to you to talk about that. But how we're going to do this, we're just going to go slowly. We're going to go slowly. We're not going to set ourselves any time limits. We're both working. Sean is on placement, doing all sorts of weird shifts. I'm working. I have a family myself. Have a job and other voluntary roles to take on. So we're not going to say that we're going to put out one of these every week, every month. We're just going to do them as and when. They're going to be unscripted. And I do apologise that there's a gentleman who seems to be taking his t-shirt off over my shoulder. Just for context, where I work is a hydrotherapy. We have a hydrotherapy pool, and today we're hiring out to a water baby swim group. So this is perfect in the sort of the unscripted nature of what we're doing, Sean. We do have a full set of changing rooms, but anyway, I'll keep my hand there and let you waffle for a bit, Sean.
For the moment, while gentleman gets unchanged. Who am I to begin with? So my name's Sean Williams. I've recently gone 30, quite reluctantly there. I'm a student learning disability nurse at Keele University. I'm somewhat I left school with no qualifications. Had my wilderness years. Worked for a very large, for many years on the shop floor very notorious, or famous online retailer, where every minute was recorded and monitored. Then I stumbled to working into adult social care. I got my GCSEs at the age of 27, and came to stumbled into nursing through clearing, and originally applied for adult nursing, and I really persuaded on a interview day that I'd rather do work with people than do tasks. So what brought me here? Well, as I said, learning disability nursing was an unexpected development for me. I originally applied to study adult nursing via clearing. In fact, I had not encountered any LD nursing practice or LD nurses before. I had worked with some older adults with learning disabilities there. And during that day, I got talking to a student learning disability nurse. As things are usually the best ambassadors, who explained things a little to me. It piqued my interest, and I asked about it at the interview. Yep, so here I am. Why am I doing this? Well, the current situation learning disability professionals find themselves in is, it's obvious. There's a decline in services and the numbers of LD professionals. There's a lack of community of practice, I feel, amongst students and professionals, with very little regular contact and conversation. And there's an absence really of LD professionals' voice on subject matters, on current affairs out there, and whether that's to shape the future or to condemn past events and current scandals. So what is this all about? Well, related to the points above, to really get the conversation started about learning disability professionals and about learning disability services, and also the practice we share, and really engage others within the wider learning disability community, because there's some conversations that I feel need to be had, and I can't find any evidence of them happening really. So why tough topics in LD? Well, I feel anyway, there's a lack of discussion around tough topics or controversial issues, and little active debate between practitioners. And sometimes this is even over fundamental aspects of learning disability practice. And what's in a name? Well, exactly that. I mean, learning disability or learning disabilities is a label like any other. And it's possibly the most apt label we have for these conversations, because they tend to refer to learning disability practitioners and learning disability services. So how are we going to do this? Well, slow posting. Can't promise there's going to be lots. Very busy at the moment with studies. Maybe some interviews. Who knows? And hopefully lots of critical discussion between me and Alistair and whoever wants to join. And what is there to come? Well, again, focus on tough topics and some awkward questions. Hopefully it gets a little bit more polished. We're hopefully going to refine as we go along. Well, that's the aim anyway. And just let's see what evolves. That's where I am.
Thank you, Sean. And I think, the idea of this first sort of, web chat was to try and introduce ourselves and, to show that Sean and I aren't here for our own egos. We're not here for our own benefit. Neither of us have anything to sell. Neither of us have anything to gain necessarily financially from this, unless you're going to jump in there, Sean, some sort of...
No, we're definitely not influencers.
No, exactly. Less than 2,000 Twitter followers between us. So, we're not the polished and finished articles ourselves. We both had rocky journeys through education and non-traditional routes to get to where we are. And Sean and I have actually never met, which is another fair point. We've only engaged over social media, but we think this is something that positive can come out of it. And I think another important point to make, as Sean touched on there, is we are very much open to people suggesting, either guests. We'd like to look at some interviews. Any topics, if anybody wants to submit them to us, they can submit them to us through social media. Sean, what's your handle?
It is at Sean, SHAUN, capital S, _ LD, both capitals, and then nurse with a capital N.
It's quite long. So mine's much more simple. Mine's at the LD physio on social media. I kept it short because I'm a bit thick. But essentially, yeah, so we just wanted to introduce ourselves, say hello, introduce the premise of what we're going to try and set out to do, and take it from there. Anything else from you, Sean?
Yeah, just hopefully engage anybody out there who wants to get involved. It's really about trying to create a little bit of more of a community of practice. And I know yeah, I'd like to see more of it. I've experienced some, but yeah, some more would be great for everybody.
Excellent. Excellent. No, that's really, really helpful, Sean. And again, thank you for giving up your own time to be able to sit and chat. So we will hopefully see you all soon in episode 2, in where we'll have, a flashy intro, credits and everything. Not really, it'll probably be just as rough and ready as this, but that's kind of, I kind of like the charm of it. We'll go with rough and ready, and it's not about the presentation, it's about the content. That's what it's about. Quality over quantity.
It's not about it's not all about image.
There you go. Exactly. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye bye.